Are you a parent wondering if you're doing right by your kids?
A therapist looking for real-world applications and working with children and their families?
A teacher trying to navigate educating the whole child in today's world?
Then this is the podcast for you.
Hey guys, it's Brigid
And Jenna.
the teacher.
And the therapist.
Jenna, we're back. We're back. What are we talking about today?
Oh, today we thought we'd do a fun one. Sensory activities for all ages.
Oh, I'm excited
I'm
for
pumped.
this one. We're going to start out though, just as quick disclaimer, with your kiddos who are under 3 years old, we need to be sure that every single thing we use, even if we suggest something that doesn't fall into this category, we want to be using non-toxic and not choking hazard items. Adult supervision is required at all times.
Yes.
Please don't come for us.
Yeah.
And for choking, a good rule of thumb is if it can fit inside a toilet paper tube, it can be choked on. So do not leave it
Yikes.
with your child.
I did not realize that was the case.
Yeah.
I've definitely done smaller.
It's bigger than you think they can choke on.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
If you could stick it in a toilet paper tube, your kid could get it in their mouth somehow, especially because we're going up to those 3 years old are still sometimes mouthing things.
Oh, absolutely.
So watch your kids.
Yeah. Watch your kids. Our lawyers told us to tell you that.
Our lawyer.
Just kidding. We're not that rich and famous. Okay. Well, that being said, I probably have really bad suggestions then because a lot of these fit into toilet paper.
Adult supervision.
But, just be super careful.
Exactly.
So, let's start with our babies, infants under 1.
No, they don't need sensory, Jenna.
First of all, they need it the most. What? Not the most. But there's ones that I think, there are ones that you're already doing that you might not think of as sensory. Swaddling is a sensory input. Holding them, things like that. Putting them in a swing. The side-to-side swing, you're already doing those things, and those are sensory input. So, but there are additional kind of crafty things you can do. So one of my favorites, paint in the bag. I love it so much. I don't know why. You just take a Ziploc bag and you put, just dump some paint. You actually, in my experience, need more than you think you do. I'm I could just use a little bit, but in order for them to be able to move it around. And so with our real young ones, you can lay them on the floor on their back for extra security if you want to tape the Ziploc closed. But so even, I know you did this pretty young. How young did you do this?
I think we were about 6 months-ish.
Okay.
Because it was their first Mother's Day we did this, and it was really fun. We actually bought those giant 2-gallon plus size Ziploc bags and little canvases to put in there. And so they actually were painting on the canvas, and then we got to keep those paintings.
Oh, that's so cute.
So it was really fun.
Yeah.
But you just squeeze that paint in there and put it down and let them smack it and roll on it and all the things. Lots of fun.
I love that idea with the canvas. I've just done it in the paper, in the plastic bag. So it's just kind of temporary art.
Yes.
And then
which is still fun.
Yeah, so fun. And then it's reusable. I reuse it.
Okay.
My nephews and the kids I work with. But, as they get older, if they can sit up and things like that, more, 9 months up to a year, whatever, you can tape it to the window and then the light's shining through it. And then, so that's what I've done. And then we'll just kind of leave it there in the little zone and they can use it repeatedly.
So that's fun too, to try to kind of encourage them. If you tape it just a little bit high, if you happen to have
high window,
a floor length window.
Yeah.
Then you can kind of tape it just a little bit higher and kind of encourage them to start reaching and pulling themselves up a little bit more. And that's fun too.
Yeah. Yeah. Another one I've done and that I've seen, and so this was definitely adult supervision required. I did this with my nephew when he was probably 4 to 6 months old. I used a cookie tray. So I had him propped up on a little pillow on his belly on the floor and a cookie tray in front of him. And we did we put ice cubes on there. I used those pom-poms, craft pom-poms. So obviously yes, he could get that in his mouth. He really, actually, I think he was so young, he wasn't even doing that yet.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting because then they're learning about temperature and different textures and things like that. And I, of course, was sitting right there the whole time to make sure. But
Well, and when you're there, it's easy to kind of guide their hand back away from their mouth.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones is...
This is a new one to me.
So when my kids were little, I would stick them in their high chairs. So when they could sit up on their own, probably about six months-ish, and put just like a piece of aluminum foil on the tray.
Okay.
And when they were really little, like that age, I would tape it down. And so then they were just kind of like hearing the sounds that it makes or seeing the reflection of it. But it's not the best sound to listen to if you're an adult, but for them it's really fun. They're really getting to like shake it around and hear the sound that it makes or crumble it up and just different things to do with it.
That reminds me of like those books that they have for kids.
The crinkle books.
Crinkle books, yeah. Like that's what it, when I hear that, I think of foil.
Yeah, for sure. This one is really fun, too, if you have two adults that can do this. If you lay a blanket on the floor, a small blanket, and then lay the baby on top of it, and then both adults would hold an end of the blanket securely, and you kind of just like swing it back and forth so that baby is kind of, it's like the swing, but it's a little bit more... They're a little bit more cocooned in that blanket as they're getting that swinging motion. So you're really getting that like proprioceptive motion, and it's good for them. It's calming for them.
Calming. It's good for sleep. I've done this even with like, I mean, you could do it with even older kids than this, but I've done it with like a 2-year-old. Yeah. To help sleep. So we do it before bedtime.
Yes. Very calming for those sleeping times. Yeah. All right. So that was our littles. How about we get into our toddler age?
Yeah.
Jenna, what do you think for that?
Yeah. So again, this is one, definitely they're going to start putting things in their mouth. So being very careful with that. I love the sensory boxes, and there's all kinds of ones you can buy and also like kind of DIY ones. So I've used corn, I've used beans, I've used rice in them, sand, and then putting whatever kind of matches with it. So if you have sand, you can do little shovels and rakes or cars that they can drive through the sand. I've seen like for kind of Halloween and fall, like using the kind of, that hard corn, the corn kernels.
Oh, yes.
Not like cooked corn, you know. You know what I'm saying. But then they'd have like those little like jack-o'-lantern buckets and like,
that's
fun. Like a witch hand. So it was like themed. So, yeah. So, I mean, a few shout out to my favorites. Planted in Play is a big one. It's kind of nature themed and kind of, I believe that's the one. I found them on Instagram, but they do themed ones. So you can DIY, but certainly there's ones that are ready made for you, which can make great gifts for others as well.
Yeah, I think you've gotten some, not those, but some of the Play-Doh ones.
Yeah, that's the Young, Wild, and Friedman.
Yeah.
So all kinds. Birthday theme, princess theme, dinosaur theme.
Dinosaur theme was the one you got for one of my kids. They still play with it.
Yeah. So those are really fun ones. And certainly the Play-Doh, the putty, that kind of thing.
Great for fine motor, too.
Yes, for them grabbing, using their hands, if, kind of as they and before, like prepping for holding crayons and markers and things like that is really good. One I especially liked, I use this with my nephew. He's my main reference. Man, I don't even remember. I mean, he was like a little over a year, maybe between 12 and 15 months. And it was an edible one, so had he
Those
put
are
it
the best.
in his mouth, it would have been okay. So we made a beach scene. So I used blue Jell-O and I blended up Cheerios for the sand, and he loved it. Then we just had little like sea animals. They weren't big enough, they were big enough that he couldn't have swallowed them. But yeah, and that way had he put it in his mouth, it wasn't corn, it wasn't something he'd choke on, it wasn't something toxic. The only thing with that is, of course, it's then perishable.
Yes.
And so then you have
to
save it. Eventually get rid of it.
But
or remake it.
Ground up Cheerios is my favorite for that age.
I had never seen it.
Yeah, for those like 1-2-year-olds. Oh man, because they love it. And if they get a fistful of it to their mouth, it's okay.
Whatever.
Like, obviously we're not encouraging them to eat it, but
if they do,
we don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And it's fun. The texture is fun. It's a great alternative to sand. And it's cheap, easy to make. And if you have older siblings at home, you can get them involved in crushing those Oreos. Not Oreos. We've done it with the white Oreos too before. So that's why I said Oreos.
So fun.
But the Cheerios.
Yeah.
You can get those big kids involved in crushing them and and that'll be fun. My kids loved when we do stuff like that. They love to like throw the bag against the wall or smack it with the rolling pin. They have so much fun doing that. So it gets everybody involved.
For sure.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah. Even, I think you added this one, the ball pit. Did you add that?
Yeah, I did. Ball pits are really good. sort of different. Like, we're talking a lot about just touching with our hands.
Right.
But ball pits are whole body sensory. Yeah. They're moving differently in them. Mm-hmm. They're probably at the point they're maybe still learning how to walk. Sure. Or just learning those different things.
Yeah.
And so they're getting a chance now to, how do I crawl when there's a bunch of balls around me? How do I like maneuver my body in this situation? And it kind of gets them understanding where their body is in space. Mm-hmm. And so it's just fun. And then the ball is on them and they get to throw the balls and it's just colorful. It's a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
They love it.
Sure.
My husband doesn't love it because my kids would throw all the balls all over the place. But listen, it's all right.
The tunnels.
We're learning.
Things like that.
Yes.
Like I've seen those that you crawl through and then the one side is like balls. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, and even like that, as you were saying that the whole body thing, you also don't have to be spending a bunch of money. Mm-mm. So I know we're naming things that you can buy, but also, I mean, even with babies outside, having them sit in grass and things like that, like even that, again, watch them. Mm-hmm. My other nephew, mini nephew, we call him Tiny. He put this giant blade of grass in his mouth, and like I was with his brother, so I caught it and I went over and I was like, "Oh, he has a little grass." No, it just kept coming. I kept pulling it. This blade was huge, and I was like, "Oh, bro," but I got it, so it's fine.
Even grass is a choking hazard.
It could be. Also, I'm like, why didn't you spit that out? Now I'm nervous that his parents are going to listen to this.
Uh-oh.
I got it, guys. It's fine. It's safe.
And the different temperatures outside are good, too.
Sure. The snow even.
Yes, getting out when it's warm is great, but getting out when it's cold is great, too. Obviously, don't keep them out there forever, but that different temperature change is good for those little babies to be feeling and experiencing.
Yeah.
So.
And even splashing in puddles after it's rained, playing in the rain. Like, again, got to let go of some of that, like, need for control.
Rain play is fun.
Yeah, it's so fun, and it's good for them. Mm-hmm. So.
And all these things we've talked about, things that you can purchase too. I know I've purchased all of these things at the dollar store. Mm. Like we get bags of sand. They even have the different colors there.
Yeah.
The little marble, like glass marble, like fish rock kind of things.
Yeah.
Those can be really fun with adult supervision, but those can be really fun and you can get them at the dollar store.
Yeah.
You can buy those like a baking tray to do it on right at the dollar store.
Right there.
And the dollar store ones are great because they're usually magnetic. And so then you can use them as the kids get older for magnets on and stuff like that too.
Okay.
So
I like that.
I'm all about Dollar Treeing my whole parent life.
Yeah, for sure. Here's another one that I did in preschool and it has stuck with me to this day. I swear by it. I don't know why I thought this was so fun, but it is. So either using whipped cream, again, if we're going to go the edible route, or you can use shaving cream. And when we were waiting for pickup, they would just like put 2 or 3 of us at each table and like squirt some in front of us. And we just rubbed it like into the table. Basically, then it disappeared. It kind of like whatever, didn't evaporate, but dissipated. And like I remember thinking like, perfect, no cleanup.
Yeah. You want to know a secret about that?
What?
Shaving cream is the best way to clean your preschool tables.
So maybe we were cleaning.
You were cleaning their tables for them. 100%. The best way to get those crayons and markers out of the tabletops is to rub shaving cream on them.
Well, sweet. Then that's even better.
Yep. It's the best for everyone.
I loved doing it. I loved doing it. So that's like stuck with me. And again, another thing that I've, you can put on that tray with the ice and whatnot to play with. But
ice and water is a great one for our older toddlers and getting into our preschoolers.
Yeah.
If you can have little cups that they can be pouring the water or watering cans that they can pour the water onto the ice, and what happens when the water goes on the ice, or what happens when they pick up the ice and put it in the cup of water. And so it's science learning while it's that sensory. So water play is great.
Yeah. Water tables are huge. I don't know if it's like was just locally. I don't know how big Aldi is, but we found this like little mini picnic table in the middle rung, like lifted out. And
we have that at my house.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I thought when I saw it in your backyard, I was like, is that one of those? But I've seen water in it. I've seen sand in it. I've seen, just different kinds of toys, and kids love that. So
absolutely. And my kids, I know, especially love to play sink or float.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
What
it
does
can
it
be
do?
anything. And
Again, science, like learning.
and science and sensory really do go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so they can literally put anything in there, and is it going to sink or float? And I put the cup in and it was floating, but then it got a little bit of water in it and it started to sink. And so then they're
learning.
They're using those like thought process skills, which is what we're trying to develop in them.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that can be really fun.
For sure. Yeah, we've been talking about the really little ones, but Brigid, I know personally, professionally, you have experience with those preschool age. So
yeah,
what are we looking at?
Sensory boxes, sensory bins are big, 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 big in the preschool environment. And a lot of times they are themed, like you said, like seasonally. We'll do for fall, we do a lot of those like fake leaves from the store. I mean, real leaves also are an even better alternative. But for long term, we do the fake leaves, and they have little, again, Dollar Tree has little like plastic pumpkins and plastic acorns, and you can really kind of theme it to the season.
Yeah.
My favorite for fall when we can do it is to get outside and we'll collect all these things, the leaves and the rocks and the acorns that have fallen, and then they bring them into the room and put them in the sensory bin, and then they're just there to play with and explore.
Yeah.
And that kind of natural sensory bin. A really fun one at Christmas time is making snow with, I think it's cornstarch and conditioner, like conditioner for your hair.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you use those white ones, I think we always use like white rain or something it's called.
Yeah.
But it's like actually white. The conditioner is white, and you mix it with the cornstarch, and it makes it, it feels cold somehow. And it's that consistency of snow. They can kind of shape a snowman with it. It's really fun. Obviously, that one's going to require them to go kind of wash up after. I know at my house and in my school, we have the rule of you have to wash your hands after you're in the sensory bin, just because everyone touches it. We try to do before and after, but let's be honest, at least after you got to wash.
Sure.
So yeah, those are some fun ones. And then in springtime, you can put flowers in there. You can do water. It could be big in spring.
Yeah, for sure.
Watering the flowers, soil, all that kind of stuff is really
that's a
great.
good one. Digging in the.
Yes.
I heard something recently because, I mean, and we're going to go all ages up. I mean, adults have sensory needs too. But I saw this video recently that putting your hands in soil releases the same neurotransmitters, the same chemicals in your brain as an antidepressant.
What?
I know. I was like, oh my gosh. So all I have to do is garden.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I've never seen an angry gardener. So
yeah, they're always peaceful and
makes
hanging.
sense.
But yeah, it releases like serotonin and dopamine, which are like those happy, feel-good chemicals that typically antidepressants. I'm not a medical doctor. My lawyer told me to tell you that. But that's what it's doing, is increasing those in your brain. So
that's really cool.
That's great all the way.
Yeah.
Soil and dirt. Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff we're doing in preschool is going to be very similar to the toddler stuff.
Yeah.
Those sensory bin things. But this is a great time to really be introducing like those tweezers, those little play tweezers, or they have these little like scoopy tweezers. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a ball on the bottom, and you open and close it to pick the stuff up.
And pick up the
anything we can really do to start really developing those fine motor skills, because we don't want to just have fine motor be here's a pencil, write your name 100 times.
Right.
They need to be learning those fine motor skills otherwise. And so tweezers and like picking up a pom-pom and putting it in this part of the sensory bin or whatever can be really fun and good for that. I keep opening and closing my hand at Jenna to emphasize.
I understand.
Fine motor, just so everyone at home gets the same picture. But even to get
that like grip strength and things, is big.
Yep. And you can buy some little gadgets for that if you want to, or you can use whatever you have at home.
Hot balls,
a little spoon, like a plastic spoon is great for that scooping. And they have to really go slowly and scoop it on there. Yeah. And like, especially if it's those beans, dried beans are one of my favorites to use. And you can buy like big old bags of them at Sam's Club. And they can scoop them and pick them, and they can practice picking it up and putting it from one cup to another.
Sure.
Or you can also get one of those little dustpans, a broom and dustpan from Dollar Tree. Probably. Again, shout out to Dollar Tree. And if you have those beans, then they can dump the beans, and then they can practice like the scooping them into the dustpan. Or if you have 2 cups, they can pour from one to the other. And then all the while, it's also fun to just stick your hands in there and just kind of move them around in the beans. So, yeah, preschool and sensory definitely goes hand in hand. But what about the older kids, Jenna? Do they really still need sensory stuff?
They really do. And they enjoy it. My number one, can you guess actually my number one requested activity in session?
Slime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always. And there's a bunch of different ways to make it. I typically use Elmer's glue and activator that I bought on Amazon. But contact solution activates
that's
it.
the one, contact solution.
I've had people use, or like I've heard of, and I don't use this because kids, but laundry detergent.
Oh.
Like the powder one. It's supposed to activate it, I guess. What's the other one that I've heard of? There's different things that can kind of act as that like activator to kind of congeal it. So that's like the quote unquote traditional one. Then you can put sequins in it. You can put glitter and food dye.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll use like latex gloves with that, or put it and like have the child use like a spoon or a fork to mix it up so that it's not
dyeing their hands.
Yeah. And their clothes and all that. But then there's like different types that then you can add to the slime. The Model Magic one.
Yeah.
It's like foam. It's so cool.
The kids that I nannied for one summer were all about it. And they were that preteen, young teen age.
Yeah.
And they were all about the slime and the Model Magic. They thought it was the coolest thing.
Putting it in there. It is really cool.
And they would like have these elaborate, like everyone gets a bowl and everyone has to like use their own judgment for how much glue and how much contact solution. So there's no like recipe. It was everyone has to make their own. And then you have to add your own Model Magic clay. And so they were really experimenting with it. Like everyone has to do their own thing, but then also it was just fun to play with it in the end too. And it was always a contest. And I never won, if you would believe that. I never won the contest.
I'm really bad at making slime, so I do believe that. The kids are so good.
Oh!
I don't use a recipe, because I've never found one. I've never, like, I'll do it, I follow the 1 tablespoon and the 1 thing of glue and the whole container, and it never works. Number 1, and number 2, it works great in my office for problem solving, right? Oh, okay, it looks like we need to add a little bit more of this or a little bit less of this, and great for frustration tolerance, because oftentimes it does not work out the first time. And that's frustrating. And then if time's up, we have to wait until the next time. And that's, difficult. So it's a really good time to like practice that frustration tolerance and stuff too. But we're actually in my office right now. So Brigid, as you can see, I have a box or a basket of fidgets in front of us.
Sure do. That I play with every time I come in.
Yeah.
Even as an adult.
Yeah. So, I mean, this could go up through adult school age, teenagers, adults, even my adult clients use it. But yeah, I have putty in there. I have Play-Doh. I have like the squishies that are more kind of stress ball. I have different like firmnesses of stress ball. One's like really squishy. I mean, that's kind of it's actually a paint your own, so you can paint it.
Oh, fun.
I know.
Remember those fidget spinners that were big a few years ago?
I have a couple of those in there. I have Poppets, which is like the new thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I apologize to every teacher and every parent out there. I do have pop tubes, monkey tubes. I've heard them called monkey noodles, all kinds of different things. But yeah.
Wait, do you guys want to hear what they sound like?
They're
real obnoxious. But the kids love it.
Kids love them. So, and it's nice because usually they're getting told no all the time. No, that's too loud. So in here, I'm like, you can go for it. But
and then Jenna has to use her emotional regulation tools.
I'm counting down from 10 and taking deep breaths and redirecting and using my feelings words. Yeah.
The one we talked a little bit about sand, but the kinetic sand. So we were at the Early Childhood Resource Center the other week, which is, if you're in our area, it's a great place to go.
It is.
But the kids were there and it's set up basically like a preschool classroom. And so they have a sensory bin that had kinetic sand in it. And I am not kidding you. I had as much fun as they did playing with it. Like, kinetic sand is so fun.
Yeah.
To like shape it and it sticks like it should.
Totally.
And then like just like slice the little pieces and watch it slice through so perfectly.
Yeah.
It is so satisfying.
Yeah.
Kinetic sand is
I've
good
used
stuff.
Either like disposable, like knife, depending on the age and stuff, or like play knives.
Yeah, it's like kitchen kitchen
knives and spoons and whatnot with that too. Yeah, I have a little mini one that's in like a treasure chest in my office, and there's like it came with like little not sequins, but like little gems, so you have to dig through it. I use that a lot for like the sensory input and like the calming, like, isn't this really calming? I'll kind of narrate that, as well as, like, I have a sand tray, which any therapists out there, like, that's a whole thing, like sand tray therapy.
Mhm.
It's great for grief. It's great for, but, different things like narrative therapy and kind of telling your story, because you can use little mini people and animals and cars and all kinds of things. But it's also just very great for like the sensory input of it. And again, I'll be narrating like, oh, what does it feel like?
Mhm.
And especially if they have the sand tray and the kinetic sand, how does it feel differently? And
Mhm.
do you notice any changes in your body, and noticing if they're feeling calmer after that too? So yeah, kids, school age teenagers really love my sand tray. That's probably Slime's number one. That's probably number two.
I have a family member who is a therapist, and in her office, in her home, and also just in her home, she had these sand trays
Mm-hmm.
that were just out as part of the decor.
Yeah.
And they were like just a
The mini
small,
one.
like box of sand and like a little rake.
Yeah.
And you would just like
Little
rake
stones.
through the sand.
Yeah.
And
Those are
oh
called
man.
Zen gardens.
Yes, Zen Gardens. She would have known that. So sorry, Aunt Siobhan, that I didn't know.
Yeah.
But so satisfying to play with those. Like
Yeah.
as an adult, those are, you just like rake the sand, and that Zen garden is
I used to have one of
life.
those. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, that was really cool. When I
Yep.
moved offices, it didn't travel with me. I kind of passed on. Another therapist who left before me gave it to me. They were like, I don't want to travel with it. So I, paid it forward and gave it to another one when I was leaving. But yeah, those are really fun. Also, kind of even going into like adults now too,
Mhm.
teenagers and adults. Have you heard of Buddha boards?
No, tell me about it.
Amazing. I have one as well here. So it's kind of hard to explain. You'd have to look it up. This is something you have to purchase. Although I actually have an art therapist coworker who said she thinks she could probably make one. I don't know how. I'm not an artist. But it's like this special board. I have the mini one because the big one is expensive. But you just like, it comes with a paintbrush and you paint it like in water. Like you just paint water on it and then it disappears. The water disappears. So I do that a lot. Like it's, again, very satisfying. You're kind of painting and then the sensory like input of it disappearing.
Fun.
Is so satisfying.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So it's a big one too.
You know those videos that not used to be, I think they still
ASMR.
are. Yeah, but like the ones where it's just like them
Cutting.
literally like cutting sand or like
Yeah, like that kinetic sand.
I cannot tell you the amount of time I have wasted when one of those would come across my screen, and I will just get locked in, like watching the sand be cut into different things. But I don't know. It really is satisfying. It's satisfying to do it. It's satisfying to watch it.
It is. Yeah.
We got to meet those sensory needs.
Even as adults, what else can we do?
One of my favorites is a weighted blanket or a heated weighted blanket.
Okay, shut up. They make those. They make a dual.
Like an electric blanket.
Yeah, that's also weighted.
That's weighted.
Okay.
Man.
I have one in my office.
A little cocoon.
I have my weighted blanket in my office. I had a 46-year-old wrapped up in it earlier, so even for adults, and I have one at home for myself as well.
Yeah, weighted blankets are where it's at. And then the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So sometimes we like that warmth, but the cold.
Yep.
Like those little face rollers that you can put in the fridge or the freezer.
Yep.
Or even if you don't have that, ice. Just
ice pack.
Especially it's fun anytime, but when you're having those high anxiety moments.
Yeah.
Just grabbing a handful of ice out of your freezer can somehow, I don't know, you probably know the science behind it, but it calms you down.
I do. So yeah, if we want to get too technical, that's a DBT skill. It's temperature change. It comes from an acronym. DBT loves acronyms. But yeah, it stimulates your vagus nerve. So it does. I describe it as like a reset, like a nervous system reset. So, and there's a bunch of different, get into a cold shower, go outside or open a window in the winter if you're in Northeast Ohio or other places that have cold winters, blasting the AC in your car, holding ice cubes and letting them melt in your hands. Something I've seen, this is sensory play for kids and also is great, kind of tying into like hard school days and things like that.
Yeah.
If it's warm outside, taking like a bucket of ice outside, and when they get home or they get off the bus, letting them throw it on like the driveway or whatever, and like it obviously breaks. It's a good way to get out that frustration and that energy, but they're also holding it and it's cold and it's kind of a calming.
Okay, that's cool.
So yeah, great for panic attacks, great for anxiety. Great for that emotional or that adult emotional regulation.
Yes.
So
one of my favorite things to do for sensory needs for myself is to go outside without shoes on.
Yeah, just walking in the grass.
And
we were
so
talking about
often
with the babies and all the way up to us.
it is. There's something about your feet in the grass and just feeling that and letting that kind of just being in that moment. If you can like just close your eyes and stand in the grass. Yeah. And it sounds so silly. You're like, you want me to go outside with no shoes and stand there?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because it's just, I don't know. It makes your body feel something.
Or if you're in, different geographic area, sand, if you are near the beach or sand, like, walking.
Oh, who doesn't love the sand in their toes, right? Yeah.
Walking by the ocean and where it's lapping up. All of that can be helpful.
Then you're getting those auditory sensory needs met too. Yeah. The ocean and the seagulls.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's why we have those. I mean, you can look on Spotify and there's all kinds of ocean or rainfall or whatever, because or those sensory things are calming.
On those like white noise machines, like there's different settings. There's the ocean, there's the birds, there's the like crickets, there is the white noise, and there's like brown noise. I don't know what the colors mean.
Listen, okay, but brown noise is so much more satisfying than white noise. For our kids, we didn't have a sound machine. We just had our Alexa, right? Our Amazon Echo, whatever.
Yeah.
And we would just tell her, Alexa, play brown noise. And it was just like, for some reason, I don't know what it is. It's slightly less harsh than the white noise.
It does feel, I use white noise at my office to drown out, like, so that I can't be heard in the office and my clients, and vice versa if someone's in the hallway or like in the office next to me. And so it feels harsh because it's like to like prevent you from hearing, not to like lull me to sleep.
Yeah, but the brown noise. The brown noise is just like without that harsh edge, and so it's
I'll have
nice
to try that.
Yep,
yeah,
that's a good one.
You found this one and you put it on the list. And this is what I was talking about in our adult regulation video.
Oh, the loop
podcast. The loops.
The loops are those headphones. Yeah.
Yes, I saw this and I was like, yes, that's what I meant.
It's just like it just dulls it, like softens the noise around you a little bit. Because, like we talked about then, sometimes it can be overstimulating.
Yeah.
When there's just all that noise happening around you. So,
yeah. I mean, and things go across ages. Like, just turn out the lights. Like, I did that this morning. My eyes were I was like squinting and like starting to get like a pinch of a headache before work. And so I turned off the kitchen lights and my mom came out and was like, did you do that? I'm like, yes. I'm just trying to like.
I need it dark.
Sit. Yeah. Or blue light glasses. Like, if you work with a computer a lot. So.
And this is going way back, but we talked about the weighted blankets.
Yeah.
But they make them for children also.
Yeah.
And not only that, but they make those like the compression hug. I don't know what they're really called.
Yeah.
At occupational therapy for my son, we just call them the hug vests. Do they have a name? I don't know. Like a compression jacket or something like that. It sounds like a straight jacket. Yeah. It's not.
It's not. But it feels really cozy.
It's like a weighted blanket
it's like
that you can wear
for a dog.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's your dog's thunder coat, but your children can wear it too.
Yeah.
But it is calming to them, and feeling that pressure and that squeezing. Like, I know my kids, one of their favorite things is they call it a squeezy hug. And it's when we'll kind of hold them, my husband and I will hold them in between us, and we kind of hug each other, and they're squished in the middle.
In between. Oh, I love that.
And that squishing, for some reason, that squish, squeeze, pressure sensation is very calming for them. They seek it out a lot. And so those are something that you can just, try a squeezy hug with your kids. And then you can also buy a compression jacket thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to have those in my office, and I've given them to some clients and things too. But those vests that are like nice and tight on them. There's weighted all kinds of things. There's weighted eye masks, neck pillows, like the travel pillows, lap pads. But you can use even like a heating pad, like the old ones.
Yeah.
That are like the rice in a sock. That's kind of heavy. So you can make them your own at home. Body socks. I love them. They're same thing. It's like the stretchy material, and you literally step into it. They have adult size and kid size, and just like it's like a hug. We use that when I worked in the hospital.
I feel like that would be claustrophobia triggering for me.
Maybe.
I think it depends on the person.
Like yeah. They really like that. And they really like that compression, and like it's like that cocoon. And even just wrapping up in a like blanket.
There's just a feeling of safety in it.
Yeah. All righty. Well, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. I mean, my favorite way to meet my sensory needs is to listen to my favorite podcast, the teacher and the therapist.
Heck yeah. So make sure you're doing that and send this to somebody who could use some sensory activities themselves.
For sure. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.